Today marks the 21st anniversary of a very cold night in what Northland town?
An all-time low temperature record for Minnesota was set there on this date back in 1996. And in a special report, Fox 21 meteorologist Brittany Merlot takes us back to that cold place.
The Northland is the coldest location based on average winter temperatures east of the Great Plains. 21 years ago, the air temperature there hit a chilly 60 degrees below zero. We look back not only on the memories of that record-setting cold day, but also find out why people enjoy living in the country's coldest region.
So here I am in the coldest place there is in America. Welcome. Somebody has to live here, right?
Bitter cold is normal around here. In fact, it only reaches a high temperature of the freezing point about 18 days the entire winter.
When it gets down in the 20s below, that seems like every winter we have a stretch of that.
These frigid temperatures are recorded daily by volunteer cooperative weather observers.
Because I like to keep track of weather myself.
And relayed to the National Weather Service and across the entire country by James Christensen.
We had observers rolling up there, embarrassed. He was one of these observers, and we had a lady up there 3 miles south of the tower. As always, it was an ongoing, I guess you call it kind of a fun game between those two, because they were always two of the coldest.
The cold spot lies in the Embarrass River Valley near the Laurentian Divide on the Iron Range.
They're in a lower area, so what happens is all that cold air just sort of drains into the low spots, and that's where you're going to get your coldest temperatures.
It's nothing to get 40 below temperatures in the winter.
And if you consider that to be cold, things are about to become even more numbing on the coldest day ever, set back in 1996.
A huge high pressure sat over central Canada and funneled in cold Arctic air from across the North Pole to right here across the Northland.
The snow depth was also over 2 feet deep and helped temperatures plummet. With clear skies and calm winds from the high pressure, any warmth from the day was able to leave and escape back to the atmosphere.
And they all came together to give us that really, really cold night. Well, we knew probably a record was going to be broken or very close to it. The media frenzy, of course, was there. Everyone was talking about it.
It had been cold for quite a few days before that, with 50 below actual temperatures, but this was the big night.
There's a lot of stories about guys staying outside and living in tents in their sleeping bags, and, you know, tree huggers, if you will, coming up here to do that.
They were cold weather campers. We went out and I was going to check on them guys that were sleeping up there. When they pulled them apart, there was an inch of frost between the two sleeping bags.
It was indeed a cold night, with the record on the line of negative 59 degrees set back in 1899 at Leech Lake Dam. And 2 towns are battling to set a new cold temperature record.
There's a weather station just outside of Embarrass in Tower.
She had a house with a little gully down behind the house, and that's where the instruments sat. That morning, the cold air settled down that little valley and it hit 60 below.
So that's how Tower got that crown.
February 2nd, 1996 put Tower, Minnesota in national headlines.
An Arctic cold front has much of the United States locked in its grasp. Minnesota had the lowest temperatures in the nation Friday, but
the Minnesota state record low temperature was broken at 9:10 a.m. with a negative 60-degree temperature recorded.
It was just a cold day for everybody, and what I remember most is a lot of TV people around and guys driving nails with bananas.
Did you try that at all?
Yeah, I probably did.
People living in the small town of Tower, Minnesota enjoyed their record-setting day.
Threw water in the air and like ice crystals came down. We just did it the once. It was really cold out.
Kids celebrated too as schools were forced to close from the cold.
It kind of was odd because during the week it's 40, 50 below and they still had school, but not until it went to 60 below did they cancel school.
It was so very cold that you really couldn't be outside more than a couple minutes if your face wasn't covered.
Frozen and bursting pipes were also a big concern when temperatures dropped so low.
I'm hardy, but not that hardy.
So I talked with the right man on the job.
We got called out that day to turn the water off, and we had to locate the water shut off in the yard, which was under about a 5-foot-high snowbank. We moved it with the loader, and we dug into the ground, which was about as soft as a 4th of July day, which is hard to believe at 60 below.
As as the town continued to consider the battle of the cold bittersweet,
We had a low pressure.
the National Weather Service was busy.
It's not cut and dried sometimes. The state record was not declared cut and dried that day. So there was still some suspense going if it was going to be a record or not.
And so was the neighboring town of Embarrass, the cold spot competition that also sits in the valley.
So all the people were heading up to Embarrass because that's historically the cold spot.
One was always trying to beat the other.
So they're bragging rights, or what do we got?
Yeah, it turns out Embarrass's thermometer broke. Too bad for them.
He had a mercury thermometer and it broke, so he was out of the game.
That's right, Embarrass's thermometer broke at 52 degrees below zero because the mercury inside separated due to the cold temperatures.
And then it quit. There was nothing on it till it warmed back up to 50 below, and then it came back on. We definitely was the coldest that morning.
An unofficial thermometer Fowler had read 64 degrees below zero that same morning. But
Thermometer's got to be in that box. If it's not an official temperature.
On that frigid cold morning, the temperature was taken in this Cotton Region shelter here. It looked just like this one. We'll take a look inside, and you can see that the actual minimum temperature is recorded here, and then you also have a maximum recorded there. And this is the same exact setup that took that temperature that day.
But Randy's backup thermometer wasn't in his official box that is used to calculate the real atmospheric temperature without any sun rays, ground heat, and winds affecting it.
But it wasn't considered official, so Tower was the winner that day.
But Randy and the town of Embarrass feel otherwise.
I felt kind of upset because I knew we'd gotten it.
Unfortunately, his other official backup thermometer that was inside that would have worked only went to 50 degrees below, and that wasn't enough.
Now I got a thermometer goes to 120 below. Not that I ever want to see it get that cold, for sure.
Despite the crosstown rivalry, this Coldest Place still shares many of the memories made that day.
People are still interested in knowing how cold it was and what it felt like. It's still in people's minds.
But I guess if you're going to be known for something, that's not a bad thing, I guess. Shows how hardy we are.
And I had to ask, why do they continue to live in the Coldest Place?
And I just consider it my home, and I know it's going to get cold. It goes by every winter, and spring comes, and you carry on.
Small town living, you can't beat it.
Well, eventually I hope to move somewhere warmer. We do hold the record, Tower, Minnesota. Sorry, Embarrassed, that's just the way it is.
On that same cold day, the city of Duluth dropped down to only -39 degrees due to the warm lake. And only 5 days later, the Northland warmed up into the mid-40s. What can I say? Up here, we're cold weather tough. And if you don't like the weather, just wait and it will change. In the studio, I'm Brittany Merlot with photojournalist Matt Van Winkle, KQDS, Fox 21.
The mid-40s. That is crazy.
I actually really, really love that story.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be able to sit through it because it was about 8 minutes, and I sat through the whole thing. It's so
Nice
funny
work,
with
Brittany.
those guys. And
You
then
did a
like the
great
little
job.
rivalry and all that kind of stuff. It was fun.